How are you today? I remain your host, Marlai Anofuti. Thank you to all our viewers for always joining us on another edition of Marie Clinic Live. Today, I'm going to be looking at an interesting topic that says, should you agree to go live in a family house with your in-laws as couples? Now, at the clinic, we've been getting, so many posts, so many questions of late. People, coming to ask us questions. What do you think about this? How should we go about this? And from the thread of their stories, you know, after comparing notes, I noticed that this particular issue is becoming predominant, is becoming rampant, and some people don't even know how to handle an issue like this. So, for example, you are engaged to someone who is still struggling, financially or economically. He is not there yet. He cannot afford an accommodation, yet he feels he should get married. So you also, you tagged along with him. You felt that, well, he has vision anyway. And since there is a vacant house or vacant accommodation in his parent place, you want to go live with him, which is not a totally bad thing if we look at it economically. I mean, it's another way of you saving yourself some expenses, some costs, rather than you going out there to rent your home place and start paying rent. You are going to have that money saved, towards some other things. Why? Because you have a free accommodation somewhere. However, if you look at it also on another hand, there are a lot of issues that come with it, that come with you deciding to go and live with in-laws, spending the time you are economically buoyant enough to go get an apartment. Now, one of the issues that the ladies or the women face, there are even some women, they are already married to their spouse, but somehow maybe the spouse is out of the country, or maybe he's out in another station somewhere, and he says, you know what, I want you to go stay with my parent while I'm away, live with my parent. Now, without them thinking of the likely issues that will result from that arrangement. Now, as good as that arrangement could be, it could also sow a bad seed into your union, into your marriage. It can cause your marriage to disintegrate and to fall apart. Now, how do I mean? When you ask your spouse to go live with in-laws, probably your mom or your siblings or something. Now, without you considering the kind of a person your people are, or their type of character, their disposition, their level of exposure to life, to issues. Now, if you don't consider all those things before pushing your spouse to them, I tell you, they will spoil things. They will spoil all that you have been laboring to build maritally, and before you know it, you will start having crisis in your marriage. Now, when you go put yourself in the midst of in-laws that are not cultured, that are not developed, probably your spouse is maybe the educated type, or she's the exposed type. Now, you now tell her or tell him that, oh, let's go live within the compound of our in-laws, who are perhaps maybe not educated. And the fact that one is uneducated does not mean one should not be a person of character, but probably they are uneducated and they've not taken out time to cultivate, their character. Probably they are uncultured, they are not exposed, and you take your spouse to them. Now, the things your spouse will do and he or she will feel comfortable doing, they may see it as, what is this rubbish? What is this nonsense? They may find issue with everything he or she is doing. And if that is the case, I tell you, there will always be rift. There will always be issue. Recently a lady was discussing with me how she went to live with her in-laws, her mother-in-law and her father-in-law, because the husband office transferred him abroad, and they were still processing her own papers with that of her kids to go join them. And she went to live with this in-law, and she said she saw hell. The things that ordinarily a mother-in-law should not complain about, this woman will complain about it. When this lady uses water maybe to bathe or to do something, and she forgets to fetch it back, the mother-in-law will abuse the hell out of her, thinking that she did it deliberately, not knowing that, well, she may be tired or probably she forgot. But if our own daughter, if that mother's-in-law's daughter does the same thing, this woman will be fine with it. We all know that there are some people, when it's their own children that did the wrong thing, they know how to cover it up, they know how not to blow it out of proportion. But when it's another person's child, you will see all the dramas coming up, and you'll be wondering, is it just on this little thing that we are making this so much noise on? So that is how it could be. Now, if at all you are thinking of going to live with your in-laws as new couples, one of the things you also need to consider is, okay, these in-laws I want to go and live with, will I have reasonable people among them? Maybe one or two reasonable persons. So even if one has excesses or too much excesses, there should be another sane person within that environment that can curtail the excesses of the other person. For example, if the mother-in-law is the one that has too much excesses or pick on non-relevant thing, you need to be sure that the father-in-law is at home during that period that you will be living there, and that he is a firm person that can call out to other, or that can stop all our excesses from getting to you. Otherwise, if they just leave you there with them, I tell you, it's going to spoil things. Your relationship with your spouse may eventually be soiled, but because these in-laws have a way of, painting people badly, especially the ones that are not cultivated. Any little thing you do, they paint it, and make it look like you've done something very grave. So you need to think about it very well before you take a decision that you want to go and live with in-laws, because the outcome is usually not palatable. When you ask those who have been through that route, that have passed through that path, that went to live with in-laws, they usually come to tell us that they regretted going to live with their in-law. Most of them, I mean 90% of them, will usually come to say, I regret going to live with my in-laws. If I had known, I would have not consented to such arrangements. Now, one of the best arrangements is for you to look for a place, no matter how small. You can start from even a room self-contained. You can look for a place, and if you are not going to be around as the man, you can ask your in-law to come stay with your wife in that place you have rented. So at least your wife will know that, this is my territory. It is now my in-law coming. So the complaint will be lesser. But in a situation whereby you are telling your wife to be, or your wife to move into the house, with your in-law, to move into their territory, I tell you, and if they are the uncultured type, I tell you, they will end up you know, they will end up stressing, destroying her for you, and they might end up also poisoning your own mind against that. Before you know it, everything will be in a mess. Now, we've handled quite a number of such cases. I felt that it has become important for us to let people know that you don't just consent to going to live with in-laws. No, you need to consider very well the type of in-laws you have, the type of family members you have, before you consent to such arrangement, because such arrangement can put your family apart, it can put your home apart. You need to consider a lot of factors before you consent to going to live in a family house, or with an in-law. Because see, when you go and live with them, some of them, all they will be looking for is your fault finding. The things that should not even cause issues, they will blow it out of proportion. But when you go live with the type of in-law that are reasonable, are cultured, maybe they are exposed, they are probably they are well traveled, they've seen life in so many ways, they take other people's children as their home. Then if you are lucky to have one of those, then you can say, okay, there won't be issue with this, then I can go live with them and you will be fine. But if you don't have all these qualities or all these characteristics in your in-laws or in the family house that you are going, I tell you, you are going to face crisis there. So it's better we let you know that when you go there, you're going to face crisis. It's not going to be easy at all. It's not going to be easy. And most of the time, we see these couples fight and fight and fight, and they keep referring to things that happened in their parents' homes when they went to stay there. When she went to live with my mother, she did this, she did that. When I took him to live with my parents, he did this, he did that. He pushed my mother down. Oh, his brother slapped me. His sibling did this to me. See, there is too much drama around such arrangements, too much drama, too much toxic behavior around such arrangement. So if you know that you want to build the foundation of a marriage that will last, see, it is better you leave father and mother and go and start your own family unit in a different place. It is better you leave that vicinity, that environment, go and start your own family unit. Don't start your own family unit within another family unit. Your parents have done their own life, they've done their own marriage, they've started their own family units in the past. This is your own time to start your own. Don't say because of money, because of the economic constraint, you now want to destroy the fabric and the foundation of your home by moving your family into your family house or into your in-laws place. See, it doesn't always go down well. You will regret taking such an action. You will regret it. The only people that don't regret it are those that have refined parents, refined in-laws, in-laws who are refined, who are cultured, who are well behaved, who take other people's children as their home. That is when you will not have problem with it. But if you are not lucky to have such in-laws, I tell you, you would definitely have problem with that. So it is better now for you to plan and tell yourself, I'm not going to live in family house when we get married. I'm not going to live with in-laws no matter the hardship. I would rather go look for a one-room self-contained, let all of us manage it than us moving into in-laws house, because see, there's too much drama that comes with it and you will not like the outcome. It can even throw your marriage apart, it can scatter your home. So don't say we didn't tell you. I felt we needed to let people be aware of this so that when you are taking all your decision, when the so-called love is shocking you and you are like, oh, anything he says you agree to it. You need to be aware of the consequences of what would happen later on when you consent to such arrangement. It will degrade you, it will demean you, it will spoil things, and it will really spoil things badly when you are moving into a family house where they are not refined, they are not cultured, they are not exposed. They will spoil everything and make your marriage a mess. And you wouldn't want that to happen to you. So we feel we owe people that responsibility to enlighten you of the likely repercussion of such decision so that you desist from it and you don't even contemplate doing that. Go start your own family unit in a separate place. Move out of father's space, mother's space, and go start your own family unit. And take time to understand the man and the woman you married. Take out time to understand that person by yourself. Experience the person yourself. But when you go push them into the hands of in-laws for them to help you to experience him or her, I tell you, the perception they are going to bring to you about him or her will be the wrong perception. But when you have experienced your spouse yourself, both of you have experienced each other, you've lived together maybe for 5 years, for 10 years, and you now go live with in-laws. So if a mother-in-law is now coming to tell you, oh, this is what your wife did, or this is what your husband did, you will be able to say, oh, I know my wife very well. I'm so sure she didn't mean it that way. I'm so sure that was not her intention when she was. You will be defending her wife because you have experienced her yourself and you have experienced your husband yourself. But in a situation whereby both of you have not experienced each other, you just move into in-laws house, you throw them, you know at the foot of in-laws to help you experience this wife that you have married, I tell you, the report they will give you about that wife will make you to make up your mind that, you know what, I don't think I want this anymore, and you will be looking out there. Meanwhile, the error and the fault is from you. I would like to stop here. I believe I've said enough to make people learn and understand that such arrangement doesn't usually end up well, except if you have a cultured, exposed, good character family or good character in-laws. That is when you will not regret consenting to such arrangements. So I remain your host, Malaya and Obuti. We promise to bring you more interesting topic. One of our guests should be available again this month of September, and we hope that it will be an interesting and expository one. Till we meet again, I remain your host, Malaya and Obuti, and I say bye.